Americans do not want to pay higher rates at the grocery store because the president wants Greenland. They don't want to do that. They don't even understand why we need Greenland in terms of actual sovereign American territory. Why does this come up? Well, because it turns out that we're about to launch apparently a new trade war over Greenland.
Trump's crusade to annex Greenland is so unhinged that even Ben Shapiro is speaking out against it. Although Shapiro might be more motivated by, conserving resources for other foreign entanglements, if you get what I mean. But nonetheless, the president insists that US conquest is necessary for national security. National security gets cited as the reason for all sorts of depravity in our federal government, doesn't it? But nonetheless, the story gets worse. Wait till you get to Trump leaking text messages that he has with European leaders. But over the weekend, Trump threatened to impose these tariffs on several European countries, specifically if Denmark refuses to allow for the sale of Greenland. So, here's what he wrote. We have subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the European Union and others for many years by not charging them tariffs or any other forms of remuneration. Okay, so look, free trade definitely did a number on jobs and the working class in America, there's no question. Unfortunately, that ship has sailed, and if you actually want to reverse it, you would have to do it methodically, and you'd have to do it by prioritizing the concerns of workers first and foremost, but that's not what Trump is doing here, okay? What Trump is doing here is he is essentially punishing Americans because European leaders aren't bending the knee to him when it comes to handing over Greenland. That's what this is about. Further, he writes, now after centuries, it is time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland, and there is not a thing that Denmark can do about it. So Trump feeling real good about himself, realizing, oh yeah, that's right, we've got this massive war machine. A war machine that allows us to, break international laws, commit war crimes, and not have to worry about any of the consequences because our military is bigger than yours. There's nothing you can do about it. So he's feeling pretty cocky and essentially saying like, look, we are the bullies on the international stage. So if we see something we want, we're just gonna take it. Just like we did with the Venezuelan oil, we're just gonna take it. There's nothing you can do about it. Now I get that some people get a rise out of that, like, oof, I like that power. I, on the other hand, and I hope there are a lot of Americans who agree with me, want to live in the type of global environment where people look up to our country, where people are envious of what we have as a country. They look at the freedom we have here. They look at how we don't want to cause harm to the international community, right? We actually want to collaborate in ways that are mutually beneficial, but that's not the country we live in, right? All the like fantasies that we were taught in our propagandized public education. And I do mean that. When you find out that Robert Maxwell, a notorious Mossad agent, published our history and social studies books, yeah, we were propagandized big time, big time. But here we have this situation where it's clear, there's no shadow of a doubt here, that the US is not this, it's not the pinnacle of peace. No one's thinking about how we fought the Nazis anymore. We're the bullies on the international stage, and it's embarrassing. But here's more from Trump. Starting on February 1st, 2026, all of the above mentioned countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland, will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. On June 1st, 2026, the tariff will be increased to 25%, a tariff that will make goods that Americans buy far more expensive. So punishing his own people because he is so much of a little bitch that he needs to have a temper tantrum because the international community, European leaders aren't just willy-nilly handing him what he wants. By the way, why does he want Greenland? I mean, is it gonna benefit ordinary Americans? Of course not. But there are definitely business interests that are eyeing Greenland. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk definitely eyeing Greenland for their little anarcho-capitalist projects. Everything Trump does is for himself and his donors. That's it. Trump stated that those tariffs would remain in place until Greenland is officially purchased by the United States. Now, what do the people in Greenland think? Do they want to be a US colony? No, of course they don't. But that doesn't seem to matter to Trump because we're the bullies and we've got the big military. We've got the Pentagon, which can't pass a single audit that we might be sending $1.5 trillion to. Trump is also refusing to rule out a military invasion of Greenland because of course. Now, European leaders are responding with some outrage, although I feel a little uncomfortable saying that, especially when we get to Macron's text messages to Trump. But before we do, let's hear from European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and French President Emmanuel Macron.
Arctic security can only be achieved together. And this is why the proposed additional tariffs are a mistake, especially between long-standing allies. The European Union and the United States have agreed to a trade deal last July. And in politics, as in business, a deal is a deal.
Without collective governance, cooperation gives way to relentless competition. Competition from the United States of America through trade agreements that undermine our export interests, demand maximum concessions, and openly aim to weaken and subordinate Europe, combined with an endless accumulation of new tariffs that are fundamentally unacceptable, even more so when they are used as leverage against territorial sovereignty.
Don't forget, Nobel Mobile is saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
Okay, I'm not really interested in the theater anymore, okay? So your speeches don't matter. What matters is how you communicate and how you interact with Trump behind the scenes. So why don't we get to that? Because Trump did what a Twitch streamer would do and leaked his private messages with Macron. Now, on one hand, it's embarrassing because he's the president of the United States and he probably shouldn't do that. On the other hand, Macron is embarrassing, incredibly embarrassing, because look at how he sucks up to Trump behind the scenes. Oh, I'm gonna give my speech, and in my speech, I'm gonna, oh, Trump, you're being a bad boy, very bad boy. Behind the scenes though, in private, here's what Macron really sounds like. My friend, we are totally in line on Syria. Okay, let's pause for a second. Just a quick break and tangent for Syria. Syria is currently being led by an Al-Qaeda terrorist, former Al-Qaeda terrorist. Al-Qaeda carried out 9/11, killed thousands of our people on our soil. Just a reminder. And I don't know if you've seen some of the horrific videos out of Syria over the last several days, but the security forces in Syria, under the leadership of said terrorist, are slicing women's throats, terrorizing people based on ideological differences. Oh, you agree on Syria? Okay, cute. Let's move on. By the way, Trump, of course, salivated over the handsome demeanor of Syria's current terrorist leader. Let's move on. Macron further says, we can do great things on Iran. Macron is a piece of crap. I do not understand what you are doing on Greenland. Let us try to build great things. One, I can set up a G7 meeting after Davos in Paris on Thursday afternoon. I can invite the Ukrainians, the Danish, the Syrians, and the Russians in the margins. Let us have a dinner together in Paris, together on Thursday before you go back to the Emmanuel. Go back to us, or go back to the US, sorry, Emmanuel. Okay, so I love the tough guy act. It's not even that tough, but like honestly, the faux, oh, I'm gonna push back in public, but privately, it's like, how can I pleasure you? How can I get on my knees faster? Trump is also texting with the Norwegian prime minister, and here's what he sent him on Sunday, and this is kind of embarrassing. Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. Homeboy, you never thought purely of peace. Trump has thought only purely of himself and what benefits him. And last night, Trump decided I'm gonna play this game where I pretend like the Nobel Peace Prize doesn't really mean much to me. Let's watch.
I don't care about the Nobel Prize. First of all, a very fine woman felt that I deserved it and really wanted me to have the Nobel Prize, and I appreciate that. If anybody thinks that Norway doesn't control the Nobel Prize, they're just kidding. They have a board, but it's controlled by Norway, and I don't care what Norway says. But I really don't care about that. What I care about is saving lives, and I think I've saved tens of millions of lives. If you look at India, Pakistan, just as 2 nuclear powers, you look at so many of the countries that were in a 30, in some cases, a 35-year war, and they got it done. We stopped 8 wars, and maybe we'll be stopping a 9th very soon. We'll see.
You ripped up the Iran nuclear deal in your first term, and then proceeded to have a complete meltdown and temper tantrum in your second term after Iran didn't negotiate for a new nuclear deal fast enough. You bombed their nuclear sites on behalf of the real president of the United States, Benjamin Netanyahu. That man does not value peace at all. He believes in taking things by force. He believes that as long as you have this largest, strongest military, you can do whatever you want. You can kidnap world leaders. Even after said world leaders offer you everything you want, you'll kidnap them anyway. And pretend like you did so on behalf of the American people due to the prevalence of drug overdoses in the country. F off. This guy couldn't care less about the American people, and that much is abundantly clear. I'm just gonna leave you with this. A woman who shouldn't have resigned from her congressional seat. And yes, I say that as someone who has many disagreements with her. But at least she had a spine in calling Trump out. Now she's gone. And there aren't very many Republicans who are willing to push back against Trump's depravity, especially as it pertains to foreign policy. So former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene writes, we are approaching $40 trillion in debt and Social Security is going to be insolvent by 2033. Is anyone even talking about how much it's going to cost the American people to take over Greenland? Saying it's for your safety is not sufficient. We've heard that one before and it didn't turn out so well. By the way, the whole national security argument, we actually have a military base in Greenland. And Greenland's like, yo, if you want to expand that military base for national security purposes, we will allow it. It's not about national security. It's about natural resources and unregulated land to benefit, the tech titans and the deplorable billionaire goons and ghouls that surround him and fund his campaigns. That's what this is about.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.